Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, hello! My name is Caitlin Elliott, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Golden State Killer. Now, the Golden State Killer was actually a case that was requested to me, and at first I didn't want to cover it just because it had been covered before, but hey, you know, people want it, people will watch it. So, the Golden State Killer case is very highly known about, and the reason why it's the Golden State Killer, like why it's called the Golden State Killer case, because the person that did all of this did it in California. California is known as the Golden State, and has the Golden Gate Bridge and everything in it. So, voila, there we go. So, today we're going to be talking about the man behind the Golden State Killer, and that is Mr. Joseph James Deangelo Jr. Now, Mr. Joseph James Deangelo Jr., he was born on November 8th of 1945 in Bath, New York. They say New Yorkers are crazy. I'm telling you what, this is a prime example of how crazy New Yorkers can be. And I'm sorry I'm laughing, but this guy was like, he was a whack job. In other words, he was a whack job. So his parents' names were Kathleen Louise DeGroat and Joseph James Deangelo Sr. He was their oldest child, hence why he was called Joseph James Deangelo Jr. And it was said that his dad was a sergeant in the U.S. Army, and he has two younger sisters, and a younger brother, hence, yeah, because he was the oldest child. And a relative, it was unknown, like, who the relative was. They actually reported to the police that Joseph James Deangelo Jr. had witnessed his sister when she was 7 years old. 7 years old, getting raped by two airmen while they were stationed in West Germany. Because at the time, you know, it was West Germany, East Germany, because of the Cold War and everything. But, oh my god, I can only imagine how horrible he must have felt and, like, how horrific that must have been to see. Like, holy shit. Like, I ain't trying to make excuses here, but imagine you're just trying to live your life and all of a sudden you see your sister getting raped. Like, what the actual fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god. So, it said that, like, it really took a toll on him whenever he witnessed it. Like, it really was a really heavy feeling in his heart. And, like, my questions were, like, did the two airmen ever get in trouble? Because it wasn't said, because, like, in the military itself, getting caught, like, raping a minor or any type of, like, abuse like that is extremely frowned upon. You can actually, like, get kicked out of the military and lose your job for it. So, it's, like, did they have something happen to him? Or, like, what the hell? Because you're not supposed to do that. And actually, one of the sisters stated that Joseph James Deangelo Jr. was actually abused by their father growing up, and this also attributed to what happened to him. And it's kind of sad that, like, all these serial killers got abused growing up, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them why they became serial killers, but it's still sad that they got abused. I'm not saying, like, everyone who gets abused becomes a serial killer. I'm just saying, like, happens a lot more than what it needs to be, you know. And so, in the years of 1959-1960, Joseph James Deangelo Jr. actually attended Mills Junior High School in Rancho Cordova, California. Probably butchered the shit out of that name. I'm so sorry, people in California. And he ended up receiving his GED in 1964. So a GED is basically general education. I'm not sure if, like, it means that he dropped out. I'm not 100% sure what a GED is, but that is what he got. And he actually played on the JV, which is the junior varsity baseball team. So he was, like, kind of an athlete. And it was around this time when he was in high school that he actually committed, like, a bunch of burglaries and actually took interest in killing animals as a teenager. Like, he actually blew them up. Like, imagine you're a mother and all of a sudden your son goes, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find some animals to blow up." And you're like, "Okay, son, have a good time. Yeah, bye." Like, what the fuck? Ugh. What the fuck? And it said, like I said, when he was in high school, he did, like, a ton of robberies. And he would just break into random people's homes and just steal, like, random shit. Like, just random items, you know, like a toothbrush or a towel or something, like, really random. And it's just like, what the hell? And so once he graduated high school, he ended up joining the Navy. And he served for 22 months during the Vietnam War, which the Vietnam War, if you don't know, was a war that took place from 1966 to 1974, I believe. And it was between North Vietnam and South Vietnam. North Vietnam was communist and South Vietnam was democratic, I believe. And the United States fought with the South Vietnam side. So that's... And a lot of people ended up getting drafted. That's what I was thinking of. Drafted over to the Vietnam, like, into the army to go fight for the Vietnam War. Like, none of these people even heard of Vietnam. And they were told, oh, you're going to be fighting here. And they're like, oh, shit, what? What? Oh, okay. And it's just like, yeah, what the fuck? And it was told that he was a damage controlman, which is basically a emergency repairman. I wasn't exactly sure what type of job, what they did, but it said that he came home a very decorated soldier. So he had, like, lots of, like, ribbons and medals, and his parents were, like, everyone in his family was, like, very proud of him. They were like, oh, hell yeah. So he ended up earning the National Defense Service Medal, a Vietnam Service Medal, which is given to every single soldier that served in Vietnam, living or not, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal. Like, okay, Joe. Okay, Joseph. Okay. Like, oh, shit. And there's a possibility that he ended up actually getting PTSD from the war. Because it was said afterwards, like, he wasn't right in the head. He was, like, pretty messed up from all the shit that he saw. Which would make sense as to why he started doing what he did, but shit, like, God. And then after, you know, got out of the Navy, he decided, hey, I'm going to become a police officer. Which, of course, he fucking did. Of course he wanted to become a police officer. Of course, Joe. So he went to college to study becoming a law enforcement officer. He was like, all right, I'm just going to go to college now. Just pretend I served in the military. Like, put all that shit aside. And I'm just going to join the police guard. Like, hell yeah. Go police. Go police. That's what he's thinking. He's like, hell yeah. And so he ended up graduating from the college that he went to become a police officer with honors. So he actually was pretty intelligent when it came down to his studies. Like, he was smart. Not everybody graduates even, like, high school or college with honors. So the fact I didn't even graduate high school with honors, and I was in a lot of honors classes. So the fact that he did just means that he was, like, incredibly intelligent. Which is kind of scary considering who he became, but oh shit. Good for you. And after that, he went to the Sacramento University in Sacramento, California, which is the capital. And he ended up getting his bachelor's degree in criminal justice, which is kind of ironic because he was a burglar. Okay. Then after he graduated from Sacramento, California, can't talk to California. Essentially how I just sounded. Oh, God. As you can see, it's been a very long day for me. I'm still in Hawaii time, man. And I'm here in Maryland visiting family, and it's just like I'm not used to the time change, yo. So, after he left the third college, he went to complete his police internship, because once you graduate to become, like, a certain job, you have to become an intern. So that's exactly what he did. He became a policeman intern. And ironically, and I'm saying this as ironic because of his burglaries that he did as a teenager, he ended up working a burglary unit. Yes, burglary unit. I must have said union. I'm sorry, everybody. Like I said, it's been a long day. So I find that ironic because, like I said, he was doing burglaries as a teenager, so the fact they put him in a burglary unit, did they not look into the shit he did in his past? Like, or was he just never caught doing these burglaries? Like, What? And he was, like, it said that at this time, Joseph was actually a really popular guy. Like, everybody loved Joseph. And he had a lot of friends while he had this internship, so everybody wanted to hang out with Joseph. Oh, you know Joseph Deangelo Jr.? Oh shit, that's my homie. That's what they were all thinking to each other, like, oh my god, you don't know him? Well, let me just tell you about him. He is so cool. Oh my god, just great guy. Great guy. And it's also possible that he wanted to work in the burglary unit so he can get better ways to do burglaries. You know what I mean? Like, what better way as a burglar to do burglaries than work in a burglary unit? I can't even say it. Unit, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense, right? So, and it's like, did these incidents of like what he saw while working in a burglary unit did actually influence him to do what he did? Because that would make sense, you know, like, hey, you know, I saw this guy named Jimmy broke into his grandma's house, and this is how he burglarized their home, you know, like, oh shit, they used a brick to open the window. Let me write that down real quick. Let me write that down. So then I can do that next time, you know, like, did he do that? That would make sense if he did. And he might have, the reason why he might have wanted to work in a burglary burglary unit is because, like, it's possible, like, while he was burglarizing all these homes and stuff, he wanted to be one step ahead of the police officers. So they'd be like, oh, this person broke into 77 West Street, and he's like, oh shit, that was me. You know, let me just break into this other house over here. You know, while they're over here, let me just go over here, because so no one can suspect me, you know? You know, no one will suspect a thing. Now we're going to be talking about Joseph James Deangelo Jr.'s love life. I know, this dude had a hell of a love life, and it's just like, there's a dog shitting in front of my mom's house. I'm so sorry, everybody. I was like, the fuck? Why is this guy dog pooping? I think they just left it there, too. Bitch. Anyone who doesn't pick up their dog's poop when they poop in someone else's yard, use a bitch. So, at first, like, you know, he seemed to be, like, this perfect lover because he had an amazing job, because he worked with the police officers, the police force, and he was very charismatic and charming. That's how it always goes, right? The ones that are always the crazy ones were always the ones that were very charismatic and charming. Like, he seemed like that perfect guy. So, in the May of 1970, he ended up getting engaged to his girlfriend at the time. Her name was Bonnie. And they had been together since college. I wasn't sure, like, which college it was that they got together. I can remember he went to a shit ton of colleges because he was, like, super smart. And, like, after a while, Bonnie starts to see through his facade that he had. And as their relationship progressed, she noticed that he became, like, very controlling and abusive. Like, she was like, what the hell? This isn't the Joseph that I remember. Who the fuck are you? And it's just like, what is wrong? Like, she was thinking, like, what the fuck? And so, at one point, Bonnie and Joseph, they went hunting together, you know, and it didn't seem like a bad date idea at the time, because, you know, like, because I'm not gonna lie to you, like, going hunting, like, as a date, it seems like a fun idea, but remember, this is Joseph James Deangelo Jr. we're talking about, Mr. I'm gonna become the Golden State Killer, Mr. Bunny's cruelty, Mr. I blew up animals, and he's a little cray-cray, I'm a burglar, all that type of shit. So he and Bonnie jumped on the back of Joseph's motorcycle. He had a motorcycle. I could just imagine, like, this guy, like, going to break into these homes, like, rolling up on, like, a little moped. And I'm sorry I'm laughing, though, but, like, come on. It's kind of funny, right? This guy trying to go and break into people's houses on a motorcycle, like, they see me rolling, they hating, you know, like, that type of shit. Okay, I'm gonna move on, because, so once they left the hunting area, they just hopped back onto their motorcycle and they just dipped. They were like, okay, bye, we're done hunting, you know. Oh, I should probably put a disclaimer on this video. It's going to include a lot of, like, talking about, the way people were murdered. It's going to talk about animal cruelty, like, a lot of shit happening to animals, and a lot of shit happening to people, like, really dark stuff. So if y'all don't want to hear about it or watch about it, it's okay to leave the video. But for those who are interested, I'm gonna read on, and and it's gonna talk to you about why I put the disclaimer on. I'm so sorry I didn't put it on earlier, but I completely forgot this dude did this until I just read it now on my paper. So I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot to do that. So, disclaimer. So whenever they dipped the hunting area, that's when someone's hunting dog decided to chase them, you know? So, like, it said, like, a dog, but I didn't know if it was, like, a hunting dog, because it's a possibility that it was a hunting dog, because they're in a hunting area. So, Joseph, he sees this dog behind him, and he starts kicking the dog in the head so many times that it breaks its neck and dies from its injuries. And Bonnie witnesses the whole thing. And Bonnie was like, yo, what the fuck did I just see? You know, like, this isn't the guy that she remembered seeing, the charismatic dude that she just loved and her boyfriend. Like, who the hell was this guy? He just murdered a dog. Oh my god. I wouldn't blame her for thinking that, because I would have been thinking the same damn thing too. Like, what? So, the whole dog incident made Bonnie rethink things with her relationship with Joseph. She was like, okay, is this really worth it? Because he doesn't seem like a good guy. But then, whenever he cheated on his exam, that's when she was like, oh my god, what a terrible person. Not the whole dog killing incident. That didn't cause her to break up with him. This was the cheating on the test incident. Like I said, if I were Bonnie, I would have ended that shit whenever he killed the damn dog. But at least she left him, and he didn't end up killing her. Like, good for her. At least she left it. Which, like, anyone who's in an abusive relationship or was in an abusive relationship, and you end up leaving your lover at the time who was so crazy and abusive to you, like, good for you. And I'm saying that sincerely, like, good for you, because there's not a lot of people that are able to do that and able to leave. And we end up hearing these horrible stories about people being murdered by their ex-lovers and, like, end up being stalked and everything. Like, I'm just so glad about people out there that are able to leave those crazy abusive relationships. So, kudos to you all out there. But now to move on to the story. So, Bonnie tries and she tries and ends her relationship and engagement with Joseph. She's like, okay, listen, I'm done. And I don't blame her, because I would have done the same damn thing. Like, I don't want to marry someone who just killed a fucking dog. You know what I mean? Like, ooh. So then Joseph, he wasn't having any of that. He was like, listen. And he pulls out a gun and he puts it up against her and says, you are not leaving. You will not leave me. And at this time I was thinking to myself, like what was Bonnie thinking? Because she must have been, like, scared out of her mind. I would have been scared. I would have been terrified, you know? But he's, like, pulling a gun up to her and saying, like, you're not leaving me. We are getting married, and you're going to stay here and live with me. And Bonnie's still telling him, like, this is not how this works. I am leaving you, and I'm done. I don't care if you got a gun or not. I am leaving. Goodbye. I don't care if I leave in a 6-foot box that goes underneath the ground. I'm done. And good for her for standing her damn ground, because she didn't take him back. She was like, fuck this. So, she ended her relationship with him, and she literally took off out of there like a bat out of hell. She was like, I'm done. I am done. So, after they broke up, like, Joseph then, he started driving over to Bonnie's house and just standing outside their house and her house and just watching her and her family. Like, what a damn creeper. Like, you're just showing up at your ex-girlfriend's house just watching. So then Bonnie's father notices that Joseph's outside, right? And so he tells Bonnie, and this is quoted from the dad, to lock herself up into her room and don't come out for anybody until she's deep. I think it was the bathroom. She was in the bathroom and locked herself in there. What are you doing? Okay. Sorry, my husband opened the door. She locked herself into the bathroom and did not come out until her father said it was okay to come out. So, it's unsaid, like, what the dad said to Joseph, but apparently it was, because he left, and never to this day did he ever bother Bonnie again. Like, he never bothered her again. And this is to all, like, the kids out there, like, watching this, like, teenagers and stuff. don't ever be upset for having overprotective parents, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to protect you, and they know what's best for their children. And, you know, obviously being with a creeper isn't what's best for Bonnie, so her dad knew that and was like, fuck that, you know? He understood the assignment. Hell yeah. So people actually reported to the police that during his attacks in the future, he would yell, I hate you, Bonnie! You know, like, while he's, like, raping his victims and, like, murdering them, he's like, I hate you, Bonnie! And it's like, dude, you kill a fucking dog. Of course she's gonna leave you. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And it's said that Bonnie was the reason behind him, you know, becoming a serial killer. But it's just like, Joseph, you're your own person. Jojo. That's a no-no. No-no. No. So, finally, about damn time, he moved on from Bonnie, thank fucking God, you know. And he ended up getting married to another woman by the name of Sharon 3 years after he left Bonnie and moved on. Thank God. Bonnie is probably like, hell yeah, bother this woman and not me. Oh, thank God. Because I can only imagine. Like, because one time I had been stalked by this guy, and, like, I never gave out my house phone number to anybody. And he ended up finding my house phone number and calling my house. My parents' house that I was living in, and asking for me. Yeah, that shit was wild. So now we're going to talk about his times as I'm probably going to really butcher this, but is it Visalia or Visalia ransacker? So in May of the year of 1973, there was a... What are you doing? Damn husband in there touching the damn alcohol again. Yup. So, in May of the year 1973, there was a lot of, like, local crimes happening in the San Joaquin Valley, which the San Joaquin Valley is a valley in California. It consisted of the San Joaquin County, the Kings County, Stanislaus County, I probably butchered that too, sorry, Merced County, Fresno County, Madera County, Tulare County, and Kern County. Now, I've never been to California, but one time I had to lay over in LAX, and I can tell you the only place that I've really heard of is Fresno. So, if y'all are from California, have you been to those places? Good for you, I guess? I don't know. So, we're going to talk about his times as the Cordova Cat Burglar. So, many people, they still think that the Cordova Cat Burglar was Joseph, but it wasn't really, like, said 100% that it was Joseph. But come on now. Come on. So, another burglary ended up happening in that same area again on March 19th of 1974. And at first, like, the burglaries seemed, like, really random. Like, there was no set pattern or, like, truly hunted down, like, victims. The people he stalked and went to their houses. Like, there's none of that. It was just, like, you know what I mean? It's just, like, so random. So, Joseph actually would break into homes and then steal, like, a whole bunch of, like, random loose change, like pennies and quarters and stuff. And it's just like, why the hell would anyone want loose change? Like, what? But, I mean, like, there's also, like, those Coinstar stuff where they can turn the change into cash, so that could probably be what he's doing, but... then again, it's just, like... And, like, he ended up seeing, like, a whole bunch of, like, expensive items. Like, really nice shit that could have been sold for money. And he completely ignored me. He's like, yeah, psych, I don't want any of that. No thanks, guys. I'm good for now. Like, no thanks. And so, yeah, he completely skipped all that. So, it didn't seem like he wanted to steal, like, any important, values. So, like, what he would do is he would break into people's homes, and he would run through people's drawers, like, in their dressers, and, like, find all these different clothes, and, like, toss them everywhere, all over the floors. He would break people's stuff, like, their windows and their beds, and just, lamps and random shit. He would just break that. He would knock shit off the shelves, breaking that, you know, and he would throw women's undergarments everywhere, all over the floors, all over the beds. This guy, oh my god. And he would, like, move things, like, all over the house to random spots. So if you have, like, an alarm clock on your dresser or on your bed, he would move it to someplace, like, on the toilet or, like, on the dining room table, some random shit like that. And so then from there, he would steal things that have little value to them, and he would just get into his car and run away. So he would park his car, like, at a neighborhood park, and that allowed him to escape the police if he needed to. He was able to make a quick getaway, you know? So he thought all this out. Like, he was smart when it came to this shit. And whenever he would break into homes, he would, like, pry open the doors and windows that were locked. He would just, like, it said that he might have had, like, a crowbar and, like, pull it open, and he would take off, like, any type of window screens that he would find. And he did that so in case anyone broke into the, like, not broke into the house, came into the house while he was breaking into them, he had a way to bolt out of there like a bat out of hell. He was like, oh shit, I hear someone coming. And, like, whenever he did his break-ins, he always wore gloves so he wouldn't leave any fingerprints behind. And it's so, like I said, so he wouldn't leave any fingerprints behind. When the detectives would come, so they can trace him down, be like, oh shit, is that Joseph dude? Like, he thought these well out. Like, my god, Joe, you be doing good. Sorry, I, like, completely lost track of where I was. Okay, so he mostly, like, whenever he would break into homes and stuff, he just trashed them. And he didn't really steal anything. He just, like, made it look like a big old bomb went off. And over, like, the time span of 20 months, he would break into 125 homes. That's a hell of a lot of houses, like, my god. And so, like, my burning question was, like, if Joseph did all this sneaking around during the all hours of the night, you know, like, why didn't his family not suspect anything? You know, like, if my child was out during all, or, like, my husband was out during all sorts of hours and stuff, and, like, it didn't come home, I'd be like, what the fuck, where are you at, what is going on, you know, like, I'd be concerned. But it said that, like, his family was not concerned at all, and it's just like, what the hell? It makes me wonder, like, what was he telling them, you know? So, on September 11th of 1975, Joseph sneaks out of his house around 2 a.m. He goes, no, I'm gonna go on my little bike, you know? And so, the house he breaks into has a 16-year-old girl named Beth sleeping inside. So, he ends up, like, he has this flashlight. I have no idea where the hell he got this flashlight. It might have been when he was working at the police force. But he pulls out his flashlight and he starts shining it in little Beth's face. And she wakes up because obviously there's a light in her face. If you put a light in someone's face, they're going to wake up. Especially if you're a light sleeper, which I don't know if Beth was or not, but she woke up. And he starts saying that he is going to kill Beth if she doesn't come with him. So she's like, oh shit. You know, like, I guess I'm going to have to go with this man. Now, Joseph, he's a very strategical man. He had everything, all of his burglaries, kidnappings, everything that he's ever done over the past, like, years before he was caught, he had always had them planned out. So, he did not think this one out, though, at all, though. He dumb messed up with this girl, Holmes. He dumb messed up. So, the dad was actually home during all of this. The dad, the 16-year-old. And Joe was not expecting this. Because usually people, you know, when they break into the homes and everything, there's not a lot of, no one's really home. You know, he just breaks the shit all up and calls it a day. But, like, when he notices this, he's like, oh, fuck. Like, oh, shit, I did this. Oh, this is terrible. You know? So, the dad, he was asleep actually in the next room next to Beth's room. And he wakes up, and because he hears a whole bunch of noises coming from Beth's room, the dad's like, what the fuck is going on? So he goes out of his room and he starts searching the house. Like, what is this noise and where is it coming from, right? So that's when he notices that the back door is wide open, which a lot of people, myself included, I lock my doors whenever I go to sleep because I don't want people coming to my house while I'm sleeping. Hey. So he distinctly remembered locking that door. And he saw it wide open. He was like, what the fuck is going on, you know? So he starts freaking out, like, oh my god, like, what's going on? And I don't blame him for feeling this way, because if someone would broke into my home, like, I would have been like, what the hell? So that's when he notices, like, Joe. And Joe notices him. And Joe takes off like a bat out of hell again. And so this has actually made me laugh, like, thinking of Joe running down the street, and the dad starts taking off after him, which, you go, Dad. You go. He ain't putting up a shit. You know? So he's taking off after Joe. And that's a dad for you. The dad then finds, like, a man in a mask, like in a ski mask, which is Joseph. He was in the carport with his daughter, the one that was asleep in, like, the next room. And so he starts yelling at Joseph, like, get the fuck off my daughter, you know? And he obviously didn't know it was Joseph at the time because he had on that ski mask. So Joseph, he whips out a gun. Which, where the hell did he get a gun? Where was it at? Like, he was riding his bike and everything. Like, what? So he whips out his gun. And he's just shoots the dad twice. Like, boom, boom. Like, I guess they meant it to be, like, little warning shots. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna hurt you, right? No. Joseph ends up killing this dude. Like, unfortunately, he passes away from it because the gunshot wounds. Which is terrible. Like, oh my god. I can only imagine that poor girl just watched her father get shot while he's holding, like, the Golden State Killer's, like, holding on to him. Like, what the hell? Oh my god. That's horrible. So, obviously, this whole incident of Joseph killing, the dad, he puts him in a whole panic. He starts freaking out. Like, oh my god. Did I just do that? So, he then lets the daughter go, you know, and he just starts kicking her in the face, you know, like he did to that poor damn dog. And then he takes off on, like, this bike, like, and starts pedaling away, like something out of the Wizard of Oz, you know, like that neighbor with the basket, you know, that wanted to take away Toto, riding her bike all mad and whatnot. That's what I think of when I hear how it's not really funny, because he did kill someone, but come on. We're talking about this guy who breaks into houses and then rides away on a bike. Like, oh my god. Ugh. And he just left Beth behind. Like, after he kicked her in the face. Like, oh my god. So then Joseph actually leaves the bike behind, not far away from Beth's house. He just, like, dips it there. Because remember, he stole the bike, but then he just left it behind. He's like, fuck this bike, I don't need it no more. So, obviously, the cops are called because, you know, this guy was just killed. And now you got poor Beth lying on the ground, bleeding all from her face. You know, like, oh my god. And unfortunately, you know, Joseph got away because the cops didn't see him. Of course. So now that someone was dead, you know, the police start, like, upping it up a notch. And they're, like, actually start adding in other officers getting involved, because they know about all these ransackings and the break-ins and everything. So they're just like, okay, so now we got someone who's dead, right? So the police officers, they start upping it up to a $4,000 reward, which back in, like, the 70s was, like, a lot of money. So I'm taking off my shoes because my feet are starting to fall asleep. I can't really take off these damn shoes. Here we go. Here's one shoe off. I'm gonna take off the other one because, like, oh my god, I cannot feel my feet right now. My feet are just killing me today, man. They're over me. My feet are just like, fuck you, Kate. I ain't having this no more. So, like I said, there was a lot of money back then. There was like $4,000 to reward to catch the guy who's been doing this. And the police even have, like, a nightly stakeout in the neighborhood where the dad was killed. So good for the police for getting on that ball. Like, come on. Like, go. Y'all go. So we're going to move forward to December 12th of 1975. So this is like 13 days before Christmas, roughly, like 2 weeks. So old Joe, he puts on another mask and he goes into the backyard of another house. He's like, okay, so I'm gonna just go over here. And there was actually stakeout going on in the garage of that same home. And the cop actually saw someone and they tried to like arrest him. They fired out a warning shot. And Joseph, he removed his mask and he was holding it up, like acting like he was surrendering, like, look, it's me, and I'm not gonna shoot anything, not gonna do anything. And so that's when he pulls out a gun and he shoots the officer right in the face. And then he takes off running, but he leaves behind his sack of coins, remember, because he stole a bunch of coins from ransacking. He stole a bunch of stamps from ransacking, so he left all that shit behind, and he left behind a shoe print. So, that's whack, right? Right. So, we're going to move forward to 1976. Woo! And Joseph actually ended up getting a new job at the Auburn Police Department, which is in like the Sacramento area. So he and his family, they up and moved to Sacramento, California, which the Sacramento area obviously has Sacramento, it has San Francisco, Fresno, Redding, and Eureka. And he was no longer known as the Visalia ransacker. So once Joseph moved, like, no one thought it was weird that, like, the crimes in the area stopped. Like, they didn't put two and two together. Like, oh, this Joseph guy who worked for us, he moved. And then now the crime stopped. Like, does anyone find that suspicious? No? Just me? Okay. Like, no one ever thought that? The fuck's wrong with people? Like, seriously. So, in June of 1976, he actually started becoming known as the East Area Rapist. And I will get into that. I just need to turn on my damn light. There we go. There we go. Now y'all can see me a little bit better. So, like, he started being known as the East Area Rapist. And, like, oh shit, he went from robbing people to accidentally killing someone to now I'm just gonna straight up start raping people. Like, what the fuck? Who goes from robbery to rape? That's like apples to oranges. So whenever he would break into these homes, he would spend his time just going through people's closets, and he would eat their food, and he would drink their beers, and he would just steal like little random shit, like just random stuff, you know, just grab it. And Joseph would find all these women in like the neighborhoods. Oh, and they were only middle class neighborhoods. He would never go to anything too wealthy, and he wouldn't go anywhere too poor. So there was always like the middle class. And he looked for women that lived alone, and he loved that the best. And he loved that they were in a little one-story home, so he wouldn't have to go far running and escaping. And he wanted to find people that lived near a trail or near the woods for him to just, woo, I'm gonna take off like a bat out of hell again. So one family, before they got attacked, they actually told the police that they heard like some rustling outside from the bushes. So that's a little weird, right? And so it's said that Joseph would actually trace the numbers of the homes that he would break into. So before he would break into them, he would find the numbers and he would call them up, bring, bring, you know, and he would call, like, he would be like, yo, this is the Visalia ransacker, I'm coming, you know, and just hang up. Like, that's a little weird. So once the victims were like gone out of their house and everything, he would set up the house for an easy break-in. So he made it so he could just easily just and like, you know, dip in. So he would enter in through a window and he would make his way up to the master bedroom. And from there, he would like wake the person up by shining a light into their faces. And he would tie them up and gag them. And he usually went after like single women, even some of them who had children. And there was even like reports that the East Area Rapists or whatever he was known as, because they had to spend so many times like naming this guy. They didn't even like spend time like finding him. They just spent more time like, what should we call him this time? You know, like, hey guys, what do you think? East Area Rapist or Visalia Ransacker? Well, he's not Visalia anymore, so the East Side Rapist, that works. East Side Rapist. So there was actually some reports, like they said, that they were talking about the East Area Rapists, that they pointed out that he never went after homes with mail in them, and Joseph was like, you right, but I'm gonna change that. I bet. I'll do it. I'll do that. That sounds like a fun time. So he started breaking into homes that had couples living there, so like a boyfriend and girlfriend, or like a husband and a wife, and he would wake them up by shining a little light in there, you know, light in their face, and he would tie up one, he would have one tie up the other, and then he'd tie up the person that tied up the, like, you know what I mean, like, so in case, like, he had, like, the boyfriend tie up the girlfriend, he would end up tying up, Joseph would end up tying up the boyfriend as well. So he then would have the guy lay down on the floor, and he would place a stack of dishes on this dude's back, so he knew if the dude moved, the dishes would fall and make a loud noise, and then Joseph would kill him. So he also used that as a security alarm. Remember? Because he had a security alarm where he put up a stack of dishes whenever he was breaking into people's homes. You know, if someone opened up the door, they'd knock over a stack of dishes, he would know to get the fuck out of there, you know, hightail it. And so he then threatened the couples that if he ever heard the dishes fall, that he was just going to kill them both. He's like, I'll kill everybody if I hear those the bitches fall. He was not playing around. Like, oh my god. So after everybody was tied up, he would then take the woman and he would rape her. And while the man is in the other room and could hear this happening. So, like, imagine what the hell that guy felt. Like, knowing that his wife or his girlfriend or whatever was, like, getting raped in the other room. Like, holy shit. What the fuck? So then once he was finished his business, you know, he would then slip out of the house completely unnoticed. And, meanwhile, he just left his victims completely tied up. He's just like, alright, bye. And they were too afraid to move once he had left, because they didn't know if he was coming back or not. Because, I mean, I understand. Like, you never know. They could have just left something behind. He'd be like, oh, it's like, I'm back, bitches. Like, oh. So, when he would leave, he would either bring a bike with him to break into these homes, or he would just steal one. So we'd go like, pedal away, I'm going. You're like a Wizard of Oz. You waddle away, you waddle, till the very next day. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry, that's what makes me think about is the little duck song, you know what I'm talking about. So eventually, like, words spread around the town about these rapes, you know, like as they should. Everyone's like, oh, you hear about the rapes that just happened? Oh shit, I heard it's happened in Visalia. Oh my god. So there was a town meeting, and I'm sorry I'm laughing, this is just like ridiculous. So during the meeting, this man, he stood up and he made loudly threatened that if he, quote unquote, quote, like, ever saw the rapist, like, if the rapist ever came to my house, I would kill him myself, end quote. So, sure you will. Sure. Like, you see someone breaking into your house, I'm gonna kill you. You know, that's if they don't kill you first. So it turns out, ironically, and I'm laughing not because it's like funny that this happened, but it's ironic that this happened. The guy that stood up saying, if you break into my house, blah blah family, you know, that ended up being Joseph's next victim. I know. So we're gonna move forward to March 18th of 1977. So moving forward. So as Sacramento police officers, they started getting like these phone calls from this unknown man who said that he was the East Area Rapist. And the first calls were 15 minutes apart, and it was just like a man on the other end. He was just like laughing his ass off, like, a damn whack job, you know, and hanging up. I was like, oh. And of course, like, nobody recorded these calls. Of course, you know. Of course they didn't do that. And the same night, at approximately 10:45 p.m., a woman had her house broken into and she was raped. Coincidence? I think not. And this dude, Joseph, he was just a fucking crazy dude. He was a mental dude. And I don't know why I'm saying was, because the dude's still alive, but, like, he's a mental dude, okay? So, and not to mention at the time, like, during all of this ransacking and raping and the guy that getting killed, he's still working for the Auburn Police Department. Yeah, he's still, like, a police officer. So, 23 out of the 50 rapes that he did, he actually committed between June 1976 and May of 1977. It's a lot of damn rapes. And 8 of them actually happened after he would call them and be like, hey, you know, I'm the rapist, East Side rapist, you know? And then he would go break into their house and rape them. Like, at least he gave a warning first, like, jeez. And then, you know, whenever he was done, like all this, he decided to go into, like, a little break. He was like, I'm not really feeling it right now. It's not said what he did. Like, I'm not sure if he was, like, working or, you know, just spending time with his family, going on vacation, but he was not doing anything for, like, I'm not sure if it was a couple weeks or a couple months, but either way, he took a little break from his crime sprees, and he was like, and everyone the panic started to slow down, like, decrease a little bit, because they're like, okay, this isn't happening anymore, you know, maybe we're safe, you know? And Joseph was like, psych, and started going back to his little phone calls. He eventually started calling the cops, actually, on himself, saying, I'm the East Side rapist. Yo, East Side rapist, me. And luckily, this time, they recorded the calls. And they actually confirmed it by listening to the voice and everything, that it was the same person from the December 2nd phone calls. Ain't that some shit? They should have recorded last time. Then, on December 10th of 1977, the police officers actually had 2 of the same phone calls. And they were just like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna hit up Watt Avenue tonight, just a little FYI, like, I'm hitting it up. Bye. And hangs up. Now, a man riding a bike was spotted on Watt Avenue. Remember Joseph? You know Wizard of Oz? Or like the duck song, then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then the very next day, bum, bum, bum. I'm getting out of breath from all this. Like, so now he's starting to send these poems out to the officers about his crimes. So now he's writing poetry. He's a poet and didn't even know it. So, Joe then, on December 9th of 1977, he eventually called one of his previous victims, and I'm laughing because of how, like, retarded this is. He called one of his previous victims and actually told them Merry Christmas. Like, why would he think? I'm just at a loss of words for right now, because what the hell? And it's just like, oh. Then, whenever he was actually became the East Side rapist, it is said that he actually killed 2 people, and it wasn't said whether or not it was an accident or if it was intentional. But there was a couple that was walking their dog down the street, and they encountered Joseph, and they're like, oh, well, I'm a dip. So they take off running, right? And Joseph pulls out a gun, bang, bang, shoots them, kills them both. And get this, he wasn't even listed as a suspect until June of 2016. So this case went cold for years. At least the dog's was okay. Like, oh god. I'm sorry that makes me sound like an ass though, but oh my god. What the hell? So now we're going to move forward to December 9th of 1978. So at 2 a.m., like, Joe, he broke into a home at the early hours of the morning on December 9th. And the cops were then investigating the area because they got a phone call saying a suspicious looking car was lurking around that area. They're like, oh. And in the vehicle was actually a drawing of the map of the neighborhood. So they were like, okay, this is our guy. This is our guy, right? So Joseph, he eventually gets arrested for shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent. They caught him. They caught the guy doing all this. And then they let him go because they only put him on for 6 months probation. You don't understand, like, this pisses me off so badly. They literally had him, and they let him go. So, it was at this time, like, Joseph ended up getting fired from his job because the police office, like, they don't want to have a criminal on their, the police department, which is ironic considering what he's actually done, But they were like, no, we don't want you to do this, you're fired. And then, after he got fired from his police job, he ended up stalking his boss. And the police, they weren't notified of this, so no one knew about this. I was like, oh shit. So then after he gets fired from his job, Joseph and his family, they moved down to Southern California. They're like, okay, let's get farther away from here. And then that's when he started doing a lot of crimes in the Ventura area. And he was then known as the original Night Stalker. We're not talking about Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. This is the original one. Yeah, y'all need to come up with better names for these people. Like, I don't even know, like, what the hell is going on. And during all of this, his family did not even notice a damn thing. They didn't put 2 and 2 together. They were just like, okay, we're just moving again. We're just moving. Alright. So, in October of 1979, in Southern California, not only was he, like, raping and robbing people and raping women and everything, like, he was just straight up murdering people now. He was like, fuck it. His first 2 attempted murders ended up they survived the attack. Thank God. Thank God. But on October 1st, he broke into a home and he noticed that there was a couple living there. Because remember, he started liking to break into homes that had couples. So he tied them up and he starts telling them that he's going to kill them. He's like, I'm just going to kill y'all. So he walks into the other room. The woman just starts screaming. And Joe, he's just like, what? Like, just starts freaking out because he's like, I've never had this happen before. He's never had anybody, like, scream. So he gets freaked out. And so he dips out of the house and hops onto his little bike and just, yes?
I need the keys.
Go get the keys then.
Where are they at?
In my purse.
Where are they at? Where's that at?
I don't know. So, now we're going to talk about that the neighbor was an FBI agent, and so the neighbor, he notices all this, and so he starts going after Joe, who's, like I said, riding away on his little bike, ride on the bike, like the freaking lady from The Wizard of Oz. Get off my head.
Okay.
And love you too. And so, on December 30th, he then breaks into the home, like, he breaks into another home. Sorry, my husband, like, freaking distracted me. How rude. Who does he think he is, right? So he breaks into, like, another home. And the couple's names were Robert and Deborah. Yes, Robert and Deborah. And he then just, bang, bang, kills them after tying them up and raping the wife. And he just rides away on his little bike. Just rides away. And, like, what a fucking loser, right? Like, why... I mean, honestly, anybody who does these type of crimes, they're not good people, but what a fucking loser. So then outside the crime scene, I can't talk today, I'm so sorry. There was actually dog footprints. And remember, like, Joe had that dog repellent spray, remember? So he would spray that and the dogs would stay away from him, but, like, they had the dog prints around the house. Like, that's a little weird. So on March 13th of 1980, I almost said March 18th of 1930. Whew. Y'all, it's been a long day. I'm so sorry. He breaks into another couple's house and he ends up tying them up with pantyhose. And he then rapes the woman before stealing some wood out of the little area by the fireplace, where you put your wood. What was that called? The wood pile. And he starts beating those people in with the piece of wood until they are dead. He just beats them to death with the wood. And then at the crime scene, detectives know that the knot is the same knot that was used in the East State Rapist. So this is the first time that the police are starting to put two and two together. Like, oh my god, they must be related. So his next couple that he went after was a newlywed couple. So, which is so sad. It really is really sad because these people had just started their lives together, and then Joe had to go and fucking ruin it. So then they only had been married for a few weeks. On August 19th, 3 months after their marriage, Joseph shows up and he breaks in and he ties them up. Then he rapes the wife and he kills both of them. So I don't even know how many people we've killed at this point, but he just does not give a fuck. He just doesn't care anymore. So now we're going to move forward to, they talk about the year of 1980. So Joseph and his wife Sharon at the time, they moved to a place called Citrus Heights, California. And then I don't know, they're just moving everywhere. And like, the wife has no idea. She thinks it's for his job. No, he's just moving to kill people. Like, God, this poor wife. She doesn't know a damn thing. Doesn't know a damn thing. Oh, I'm sure he's got kids too. If I remember correctly, he's got kids at this point. So they moved to Citrus Heights, California. Now, February 6th of 1981, he broke into the home of a young woman. He tied her up, he raped her, and he beat her to death. Now, it's said that he took like a little bit of a break for a couple months, and then on July 27th, he decided to move his crimes back to a place that was very close to where he visited when he was the original Night Stalker. So he just moves his crimes back to where he first started. And he breaks into this home of a 27-year-old, and they had the guy that they found was like, he had no marks on him, like no like things that were tied up. Sorry, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about at one point. I just had a brain fart. He had no like marks that indicates that he was tied up. So he had been shot in the cheek and killed with some type of a gardening tool. So they beat him to death with a gardening tool, like a hoe or something. And the woman was found with bruising on her body from both the wrists and the ankles. So it like shows evidence that she was tied up as well. And so his final crime was on May 4th of 1986. Like Star Wars and the Charlie Ross case, but on May 4th something happened. I think he was born on May 4th, but Star Wars, may the 4th be with you. But anyways, so he breaks into a home and there was a teenager inside, and she's home alone while her family is traveling. So he breaks in to the house and he rapes her. And then this poor girl. And then he finds like this pipe wrench. I don't even know what a pipe wrench is. Someone please tell me. And he pulls out a pipe wrench that he found, and he just beats the poor girl to death with the pipe wrench. Like, what the fuck? So it was after this crime that everything just ended. So in the 1990s, he became a truck mechanic, and he ended up just like working this job until he retired back in 2017. This was literally 5 years ago. So each police department in the area, like in 2017, they had looked into the crimes, and they each separately did their own investigations. And there was one detective, he claimed that the East area rapist, it has to be the same person that did all these murders because it all makes sense, just everything that was done. But the Santa Barbara police were like, no, it's got to be this person, because they were like, there's someone who lives here in Santa Barbara, and it's this person that is down here in the Southern California area doing all these crimes. It is him. It is this person. So get this, the dude gets murdered and the crimes are still going on. I'm laughing because like it's the police think they're so certain that they got this guy, and he ends up getting murdered, and then they're like, oh fuck, now what do we do? It's like, there goes our person. Then, after the 2001, like, connection, because remember, this connection took place in 2001, it just got colder than ice for a very, very, very long time. Like, it went out like nothing. Then, there was a citizen that lived in the United States. Her name was Michelle Mcnamara. And she started researching the case. She was like, beep, bop, boop, I wonder why this case hasn't been solved yet. You know, she's a little curious. So, homegirl Michelle, she actually came up with the name of the Golden State Killer. Because she was like, listen, so the guy lived in California. All of his crimes took place in California. He's the Golden State Killer. He's been known as the Golden State Killer since the 2001 era. So, yay Michelle, another fucking name, right? Like, how many does that make now? Like 10? So, there was this brother from the couple that were killed back in 1980. Jesus, cramming it. What was their name again? Oh, it was the one with the, where he had the newlywed couple, and he killed them on August 19th, remember? No, they had just been married on August 19th, right? No, they were killed on August 19th. Sorry, I was getting my things all mixed up here. I'm so sorry. So, it was basically the brother from that couple that were killed on August 19th of 1980. And he ended up spending $2 million to help get DNA from different California felons. And in January of 2018, they uploaded DNA from the 1980 Ventura County murder through GEDmatch, GED match. And the woman who is helping upload DNA into the system ends up finding a very, very close match to the killer's DNA. Remember, this was still 2018. So this case is like taken off, man. So it gets narrowed down between Joseph James Deangelo Jr. and one other person. Now, the other person was removed as a suspect because the person was dead. So it just left Joseph as the only suspect. So they're like, we got him. We got him. Which I can only imagine, like, in January 2018, like, they must have been like, oh my god, we got him. Like, freaking out. Like, I would have been. They got him. Got his ass. So on April 18th of 2018, the police had secretly started, like, observing Joseph James Deangelo Jr. Just like, let me just double check and make sure it's him, right? So they started secretly collecting DNA samples. And so they got it from off of Joseph's car door. And they took it back to the lab to compare to the DNA that they found from the crime scenes back in the 70s and 80s. And what you know? The DNA was a complete match. Wouldn't you know, Joe? So, on April 24th of 2018, 72-year-old Joseph James Deangelo Jr. was arrested. And I'm sorry I'm laughing, but, like, it's about fucking time they found this guy. And the way that he got arrested, like, what he said was so funny. But we're gonna get into that. So, like, it's about fucking time they found Slow Joe over there. He was just living his life. It said that he just, after the crime stopped, you know, he just took care of his family. You know, he raised everybody and just became a family man. Ain't that ironic? So, he was living with his daughter and his granddaughter at the time of them finding and arresting him. Ain't that some shit? So, the police showed up, and, you know, Joe's not surprised at all. He was like, but I got a roast in the oven. That's literally what he said. When the police, like, showed up to arrest him, said that he was on arrest, all he said was, but I got roast in the oven. He was more worried about his damn roast than being arrested for murder. Okay, Joe. So, the police read him his Miranda rights, and he ended up getting charged with 14 murders. 14. And so, Joe said that the reason... And I'm laughing because, like, this guy, Mr. I have everything all planned out. literally tried to use the insanity plea and say that he had a evil man living inside of him that told him to do these crimes, end quote. No, Joe. No, Joe. And they said the man's name was Jerry. Fucking Jerry. Sorry, Bert. Told him to commit the fucking crimes. Fucking Jerry did. It wasn't me. It was Jerry. It was Jerry. Jerry. You know? But they were like, no. They ain't no Jerry. And they found out that he was competent to stand trial. So he went to court. And he ended up getting found guilty of his crimes and sentenced to life in prison. So, in total, his crimes over the past, how many years, I lost count at this point, sorry, were 13 murders, 13 murders, 50 rapes, and 120 burglaries. Joe was busy. He said, fuck that, I ain't got time for nothing. So, that, my friends, is the story of the Golden State Killer, aka all those other nicknames, and Joseph James Deangelo Jr. He was finally caught in 2018. Thank God for that. And now he's got to spend the rest of his miserable life in prison. Though, I feel bad for the family, though, because they obviously had no idea, they had no idea what the hell was going on. But, I hope you guys enjoyed my video for today. If you guys have any suggestions, any comments or anything, please list them down below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!